Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, if we move away from all the scary headlines around technology, we're actually evolving and moving forward into an incredibly exciting new digital age. And I find it fascinating how many of the changes are not led by businesses, but our own expectations. Everything is so easy for us now, and any company that puts frustrating obstacles in our way usually gets confined to our internet history. But still, many areas of our lives, such as banking or healthcare, seem stuck in the past. So I recently came across a company called HealthBank, which is a Swiss cooperative company that is allowing individuals to own and control their own health records. What the company is currently doing is moving its private keys and ownership to data to the blockchain, so that no matter where you are, you will be able to prove that you own and access your medical records. Now, the company has established architecture and customer base of 200,000 people and their health records. Certainly more than enough for me to want to find out more. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to Berlin in Germany so we can speak with Carsten Stamper from HealthBank. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
So my name is Carsten, and I work for HealthBank as the Chief Operating Officer and Financial Officer. And maybe just to give you a little bit about my very own background.
Yeah, sure.
So when I say I work for HealthBank, I often joke around that my colleague Reto is the health guy and I'm the bank guy. So my background actually indeed is banking regulation. And that's what makes it so interesting for me, or what makes HealthBank so interesting for me, is that basically a couple of years back, we had this problem in the banking sector that money wasn't dealt with properly, and it was shared without knowledge or consent of people, and the banks overdid it a little bit, right? And so the same aspect is happening in the health sector today. So when it comes to digital health in particular, then a few big companies or organizations, and for example, the NHS in the UK, have done quite some, let's say, shady stuff with patients' health data. So they shared health data with the without the user's consent, and so on and so forth. And so that's why I see a lot of parallels coming from the banking regulation sector and now looking into the health sector, and that's why it's so exciting for me to work in this.
So for people just tuning in and hearing about HealthBank for the first time, my understanding is it's a Swiss cooperative company that allows individuals to own and control their personal health records. I think it's a fantastic concept, but can you just offer an overview of exactly what HealthBank is and the kind of problems that you set out to solve with it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Let's put the Swiss cooperative aside for 1 second. I'll come back to that in a second, as I said. So HealthBank is building a people-owned, that's how we call it, a people-owned health data exchange platform where you can combine all your very own medical and also non-medical data in one database that only you have access to and that only you can control what to do with those data. So, for example, to share it with doctors for a second opinion, or to manage your mother's health, and so on and so forth. So, and I think the idea is pretty great that you can actually have everything in one database, because you can start traveling and maybe show the doctor if something happens, your medical history and your medication history, and so on and so forth. So there is a huge amount of benefits coming with this people-owned and people-controlled health data exchange. However, when we thought about how can we really make this people-owned and people-controlled, then we thought about maybe people wouldn't really trust like an incorporated company like Google or Facebook, that they really are the only ones who are in control of the data. And that's why we thought maybe the organization itself also plays an important role in setting up this whole business. And from our point of view, one of the best suitable organizational forms for this is a cooperative. So where cooperatives have a so-called member structure, different people own a share of this cooperative, and the decision-making process is very democratic. And a lot of people think that cooperatives are not-for-profit organizations, and that's not the case. So we thought that besides the control, we also want to give the people can also monetize their very own health data and get their fair share of the value of those data. And unlike a foundation, for example, those profits could not go back to the people, but in a cooperative, that's definitely the case. And that's why we put it as a Swiss cooperative.
So what's the story behind HealthBank? Can you share the journey behind it and where that inspiration for the concept and to bring it to life and to launch this company, where that idea came from?
It's actually a very interesting story. Unlike a lot of startups, when you talk to the C-level people in the team, they usually are the founders. I am indeed not a founder. So the whole story goes back to the year 2013, when a group of 28 people in Switzerland, but basically from all over the world, decided that it needs something like HealthBank. It just needs a concept that does health data a little bit better than, for example, Google and the big tech companies do with data in general. So those 28 people with a background in medicine, of course, but also in law. So we have quite a few lawyers in our founding team. Then a guy from the United States who is a blockchain expert and has been in digital health for quite a while. So all those people came together and thought like it needs something like that. And they basically founded HealthBank Cooperative back in 2013. Since 2013, this group of 28 people started to conceptualize a little bit more. So what does it mean in detail to build something like HealthBank? And so on and so forth. And they started going on conferences and spreading the idea and spreading the word. And in 2015, the group of people decided to set up a proper management team, which then consists of people who know this area. And also at this point, I joined HealthBank in 2015. So, and then this whole thing began to really grow and to really flourish. So we started developing the platform, and the very first pilot came out mid 2016 with it in a better version. And then we kind of grew our team a little bit. We are now 7 people in the company plus external developers. And we completely revamped the software architecture late 17, early 18, released our version HealthBank 2.0, which you can find now under healthbank.me. And this is basically where we are now. And we are now running a growth funding platform. So we have the first paying customer in terms of a B2B customer that is financing a little bit. But we also want to grow internationally and very quickly, because we believe that we are on the right path. And yeah, there we are now.
Now, my understanding is that you're essentially moving private keys, ownership data to the blockchain, so that no matter where you are, you'll always be able to prove that you own and access your own medical records. But can you tell me a little bit more about how it works and the technology behind it, and why blockchain is such a crucial piece to this puzzle?
Well, yeah, very gladly will do so. But let me get one thing straight right in the beginning. Yeah. What we will not do is put health data itself on the blockchain. So you said it very correctly. We are dealing with a key management, private keys on a chain, which right now is a private blockchain, by the way. And we are going to deal with ownership and contract data on a public blockchain. Just to create a little bit more transparency in the market, to create a little bit more transparency of ownership, who really owns this data. So as of now, as I said, we designed HealthBank in a way that is completely end-to-end encrypted. Let's start here. The public and private key management requires a very dedicated let's say, documentation function, and this is what we are doing with a private blockchain technology, a private ledger, basically. So our next step in development is going to be a public ledger of this key management, which is going to be encrypted as well, but attached to something called an escrow service, so that users, if they actually use their private key, that they can recover this private key, because we can't do that, because we would scrutinize our own trust-based principle by having knowledge about the private key of the user. So that's what we're going to do in a public chain with an escrow service. And then ultimately what we are working towards is a completely decentralized storage of health data. So for example, if you go to a hospital and you get an X-ray of your leg, then in the future we're working towards the fact that this physical X-ray stays in the hospital, but the ownership and the metadata about this X-ray is going to be recorded in a public blockchain that everybody can see that it was actually you who went to this hospital getting an X-ray on December 6th.
So the success of any project will be determined by adoption and partnerships. And I think you've already got 200,000 people on board. But can you tell me more about where you are at the minute, and also the ultimate where you need to get to make this project a success?
To explain this a little bit better, you have to understand our business model. So what we are basically doing is we work in a B2B2C approach. Yeah. That means we directly partner up with healthcare service providers and take care of their data management or of their patients' data management. So by doing that, we, of course, offer the data management console, HealthBank.me, to the end user, but there is a lot in between that. So to mention one example, in Switzerland, we are working with a Swiss pharma logistics company, and we are developing an electronic medication plan with them, or have developed already. So at the request of the user, the doctor will issue a medication plan, which basically just shows all the medication you take, when you have to take it, how the pill looks like, and what the side effects are. So the doctor could issue this electronically and release it to your HealthBank account, so you have it digitally in your smartphone in your pocket. And then you can walk to the pharmacy or walk to a different doctor and show this thing for cross-interaction checks, or to show your medical history, and so on and so forth. The benefits for the user are manifold. However, what's very interesting for this healthcare provider, Galenica, is that, first of all, we take care of the patient's data, so they don't have to deal with it. We take care of the GDPR compliance, and so on and so forth. And we also take care that we put the data in the hand of the user. And this is very, very interesting for Galenica, because first of all, it's a customer retention tool for them, because it's a little bit of a competitive advantage, right? And secondly, they can also prove that they are a little bit of a market leader. And for those three reasons: first of all, they don't have to deal with the data, so they basically save cost. Secondly, they have a customer retention tool. And thirdly, they get a little bit of a competitive advantage, makes Galenica pay us for this service. So the 200,000 people you just mentioned are actually coming from patients of healthcare service providers. So namely in this part, a little bit from Galenica and also from two pain management apps that we onboarded on HealthBank.
So we're now living in the age of wearables, IoT, and of course the API. So can you tell me more about the single API solution that you guys have created that allows for the integration of data from all kinds of wearables? In fact, more than 200 different devices.
Yeah, there's one thing we haven't really created that. But that's one of our partners that has created it.
Sorry.
No worries at all. But we are still very, very proud of using it. And very proud of having teamed up with those guys. So the single API solution was created by a company called Thryve, which is a Fraunhofer Institute spin-off in Berlin, Germany. And those guys are really, really smart guys. So first of all, they created this single API solution that technically spoken, integrates more than 200 different wearable devices, fitness trackers, scales, and other scanning devices. But the smartest thing about that is that it's not only an integration of data, but Thryve takes care of harmonizing those data. So, for example, that a timeline interpreted by Thryve coming from a Garmin fitness device and coming from a Fitbit fitness device looks absolutely the same if it's your data history. So, and by doing that, the user can ultimately change between one device and another one if he, for example, gets tired of a Garmin and wants a Fitbit now. So the health data history is going to be continued seamlessly, which is pretty cool to begin with. The second cool thing about that is they are not only harmonizing the data, but they are also interpreting the data. So from heart rate, for example, they can interpret into stress levels of the users. They can interpret into sleep quality of the users, and so on and so forth, to give a little bit more of an holistic picture about the user or the patient. And that's really, really cool. And so we found perfect partners with Thryve and integrated very happily, and we're just seeing the first very positive results in terms of user adoption.
So do you think we're heading towards more of a proactive approach to healthcare now, rather than being just reactive and waiting for something to go wrong? Because we're strapping all these sensors and devices to us now that are actually helping us prevent getting an illness rather than wait until something goes wrong, aren't we?
I believe so. To be honest, I do believe so. So just to see a few examples, maybe I don't know whether you wear a fitness tracker or not, but I do. Yeah. And I see a lot of people who do. Now one could joke that, okay, it's those guys, they are counting the steps, and they are going to drop this fitness tracker in a couple of months. But I actually doubt it a little bit, because as soon as the picture becomes a bit more complete, you even as an end user become a much better idea of how to be a little bit more proactive in managing your health. One example is, and this is a very personal, private example from myself, a couple of months back, actually, or a year and a half, I was so stressed from work that at some point I just saw a meditation app advertisement on Facebook, and I thought okay, I'm so stressed, I should give it a go now, right? So I gave it a go. I was actually sitting on an airplane, and I was actually downloading this app before we departed, and then started it, and all of a sudden I could really feel how it made me feel better. And then I was looking at my fitness tracker, and I could also see that my heart rate went down so quickly and so effectively. And so I think a lot of people may or may not have this experience out there, but a lot of people will definitely see that there is a little bit of a benefit from all those, let's say, user generated data, or the user devices for self-management. And you see it with the amount of fitness tracker apps, with nutrition diaries, meditation apps, and so on and so forth. What's been a little bit sad in the medical sphere, however, was that a lot of doctors smiled at those data or at those devices. So a lot of doctors said, for example, a fitness tracker that could measure your heart rate, that's not medical grade data. It's inaccurate. But now this seems to change a little bit. First of all, the accuracy is getting better and better. Secondly, we have solutions out there like Thryve that is interpreting the data towards a medical grade. But most importantly, also doctors realize that even a shittier long-term data history is so much better in managing health proactively than just, for example, a 24-hour ECG. And this is where I think slowly two worlds are coming together, and that's the traditional medical world and the very innovative non-medical and user-driven world. And by this approach, we are basically getting a little bit more, or heading a little bit more into proactively managing health than rather reactively curing diseases.
I completely agree. So what's next for you guys? I mean, what does your roadmap look like for the next 18 months?
So there is basically three different aspects in our roadmap for the next couple of months. One is we want so many more amazing health services or health service solutions that are already out there to be connected to our platform. So we will definitely grow our business development and sales team significantly to be able to onboard more healthcare service providers. So because we believe that the more functionality we have on our platform, the more our users will love it, because then they can actually see on HealthBank and say like, oh, I'm looking for a meditation app. Oh, there is one. So this is one aspect. The second aspect is we strictly believe that the approach that HealthBank is going is far beyond an electronic health record provided by your health insurance, because we want to go cross-border. We want to enable people to travel and to take their health data with them and to use their health data abroad. The second aspect in our roadmap is a very rapid internationalization. We may actually open a subsidiary in the Middle East. Early next year, we will open a subsidiary in the US. We already have opened one in Germany, which is very closely linked, of course, to the Swiss mothership. And then there is so many more to follow, like Austria is the next logical step as well. Then there might be France, there might be Brazil, and so on and so forth. So there is a lot of stuff going on. The third one is, as of now, we have mostly focused on B2B marketing and B2B outreach to grow our functionalities. But we definitely will kickstart a consumer launch campaign next year as well, to make people and users more aware that that HealthBank exists and that we are on a very good vision, or following a very good vision from my point of view, and see where this takes us.
So if we have anyone listening that wants to find out more information, maybe look at your roadmap, check out a white paper, or just keep up to speed with the developments at HealthBank, what's the best way of doing that? And also contacting a member of your team if they just wanted to carry on the conversation we started today.
I think first of all, you can find very useful information about HealthBank and the cooperative and the concept on www.healthbank.coop, C-O-O-P. So that's our main website, showing the business model and showing the idea and the vision, and also the team and who's behind HealthBank. And we also publish a lot of articles and blogs and stuff, which is all about data privacy and digital health and so on and so forth. If you are a little bit more interested in supporting HealthBank in our growth funding round, we are going to run a security token offering early next year. And on healthbank.info, you can find more information about that. And then if you want to contact the team directly, then you can always do this at info@healthbank.coop, info@healthbank.coop, or just message me directly, which is karsten.stamper@healthbank.coop.
Well, I'll add all the links to the show notes just so people can get hold of you nice and easily. But more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and sharing your vision for the future. I really do appreciate it. I wish you the best for the next 12 to 18 months. Let's stay in touch and let me know how you get on. But I wish you the best for the future. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure, really.
One problem I got slightly wrong early on in the show there is HealthBank have partnered with a company called Thryve in Berlin, and they're a spin-off of the Fraunhofer Institute, which is a renowned research institution closely working with the Technical University in Berlin. And I love how Thryve have provided this single API solution, allowing for the integration of data from all different kinds of wearables, more than 200 devices, and also how it harmonizes the data outputs and interprets them, all for the benefit of the user. And essentially, it's this collaboration between Thryve and HealthBank that brings incredible benefits. It also allows you to seamlessly change your wearable devices as well if you change your mind from a Fitbit to an Apple without the need for separate integration. And it also gets me thinking about the interpretation of all this wearable data, from heart rate monitoring to detecting the quality of your sleep and stress levels. It can only be a great thing. But what are your thoughts on today's conversation? Email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, or tweet me @Neil C. Hughes. But we're nearly out of time now. All that's left is for me to tell you my Christmas alternative movie of the day is going to be Kiss Kiss Bang, starring Robert Downey Jr., which is an underrated classic in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? Keep your Christmas film suggestions coming in, and if you're still in the Whamageddon game, let me know. But more than anything, just a big thank you for listening. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.